Hello and welcome to this video. In this one I want to show you some Cubase shortcuts I made and as well as some workflow settings. And let's start with some very basic ones. Let's start with the solo and mute buttons. And as we all know, when we mark a track, we can flip to the tracks with the arrows and we can solo stuff. When we hit S, this is the default setting, the track is soloed, and when we hit M, the track is muted. And let's say you wanna EQ some guitars, and here are guitars, and let's say we also wanna hear the rhythm guitars, the lead guitars, and right here above we have deactivate all solo states. When I click this button, all the solos are deactivated. And of course I can go above this. You also see this here in the mixer right here. But I made a shortcut for this. In my case it's D. And let's say you are in the mixer and let's say you have soloed the guitars and the lead guitars. And let's say you are doing some stuff. And this is also a key point for me. I have just one screen here. And let's say you open a plugin and these buttons here are not visible. And let's say you are EQing some guitars here. And as we all know, EQing guitars in solo is very dangerous when you do it for too long. And with my shortcut, deactivate all solo states, I can switch very fast back to the whole mix context. And this is the point for me, wherever I am in the project or in the mixer or in my big mixer here, I can just hit this button. Let's say you have soloed some stuff here, and let's do it with the arrows here. Let's say just random, you have soloed some stuff and you are listening to the stuff, you are doing your stuff with the plugins, and with just the shortcut deactivate all solo states, I can switch back very fast to the whole mix context. So this one is very important to me. And in case if you don't know where you find your key commands, it's right here, edit, key commands. I also made a shortcut for this one. And here is the key command window. And as you can see, there are tons and tons of key commands. And you have a search command here. So let's say edit channel settings, then you see it right there. But another cool thing in Cubase is, let's say you want to change existing shortcut, and let's say the solo button, then you hit the solo button right here and you open up your key command section, and then you see it right here. So Cubase automatically switches to this shortcut you have pressed. Let's move on to another one, and this is enable or disable tracks. And let's go to this piano track here. It's an instrument track, and with my shortcut I can deactivate or activate this track very quickly, as you can see here. Otherwise I have to click here and here disable selected track. And this comes in very handy for instrument and MIDI tracks, especially when you have a big project with a lot of MIDI and instrument tracks. And you can select these, you can deactivate these, and these are not affecting your CPU anymore. And let's say for multiple tracks, like these ones, I hit my shortcut and these are deactivated. I hit it again and these are activated again. And another cool thing with this method is, you can see my bass track here, and this was a MIDI bass, and I can go to my channel visible settings and let's say show all tracks, and here you can see my bass MIDI track, it's deactivated. I can activate this again, and now I can change some settings. I can change the VST instrument, I can go into my MIDI and do something, and I can deactivate this again, and let's say hide disabled tracks, and then it's not erased, it's not deleted, it's just hidden, and I can move on with my rendered WAV files here. This brings me to the next one, which is render in place and the render settings. These are really important ones. You can find these here, edit, render in place, and as you can see here, I also made shortcuts for these ones. And important to know is there are different settings for when you select an event and just render the event, or when you don't have any event selected and you render the complete track. And we have two instrument tracks here. This is a piano, and these are also some keys. So let's solo these and have a listen. And let's say we want to render these to audio. And what I always do is I give it some extra space at the end here. So let's say this is enough, in case there are some sustain notes or some extra tails and you don't want them to cut off. And now I can select my tracks, I can hit my shortcut for these settings. Now I can check these settings and try, we can say channel settings when you want to have the plugins included. We have the resolution here, and in my case what I want to do when I render out complete tracks, I want to disable the source tracks. You can also say just mute them, but I want to disable them, and I want to hide the source tracks. And then I can hit render, or in my case, if you are sure you have the right settings, you select your tracks and you hit your shortcut, render, and then Cubase is doing its thing. And now we have the audio files. And now you don't see the MIDI tracks or the instrument tracks anymore. But the cool thing is, we can go here, show all tracks, and here you see the deactivated MIDI tracks. I can say I select these, and with my shortcut I can activate these tracks again. And then I can go in, I can change the VST library, I can change the plugins here, I can change some settings, whatever. I can edit my MIDI here, and then I can render these out again. And I can deactivate these again, and let's say hide disabled tracks. And now these are gone. These are not deleted, not erased. I can always go back and change some settings if I want. And I do this with all my MIDI and instrument tracks. Whenever the song is finished, I render these out. I hide the MIDI and instrument tracks. And I do this because, let's say you have a finished project and you want to open this later. You have an old project and maybe you don't have the library anymore. Or maybe you don't have the contact version anymore. But with this method, because these are audio files, you can open this in any DAW on any computer, and if you have the contact version or other sampler or the library, then you can go back, you can say show all tracks, and then you can go back and edit your stuff if you want. This is a very cool method, also for backups. I do this for all my finished tracks. I do this with this method, and yeah. And another important shortcuts are edit the channel settings and edit the VST instrument. In the standard way, you have to go here, edit channel settings, and here, edit instrument. But I also made shortcuts of these ones. So when I have this track selected, for example, I can open the channel setting. And the cool thing is, I can flip to my tracks here, and I see the respective channel settings, and I can close them with the same key command. And I also can open my VST instrument. In this case it's contact, it's the piano, and do the same for the drums. open and close it with just one key command. So let me show you another shortcut which is really important for my workflow, and this is you can open your plugin slots with key commands and you can close them all at once with just one key command. So let me show you this. Let's say we select this DI track here, and as you can see here, 2 slots are used, and of course the standard way is to go here with your mouse. The plugin opens up, and when you want to close this, you have to go here and click. Of course it works, but there is a better way. And let's say I want to open slot number 2, I have a key command, and let's say I want to open slot number 1, I have another key command, and the other plugin opens up, and when I want to close both of these, I hit my other key command and they are gone. So let me show you where you can find these key commands, and let's type in insert, and then these are here. I have made key commands for the first 6 slots, but of course you can make other ones if you want, 16 in general. And let's type in close all, and then you can see here close all plugin windows, and in my case it's the key command W, and this comes in really handy, especially for tracks where you have a lot of plugins. So let's say, where is it? Here, let's say my bass track. As you can see, plugin slot number 1, 4 and 5 are used, and I can open 1, 4 and 5 with my shortcuts, and I can close all of these with just one key command. And you can do the same in your mixer. Let's say this track, I can open 1, 2, 4 and 5, and I also close all of them with just one key command. And let's say you are in a bigger mixer, and let's say here this effect track, we can say open slot number 1 and 2. And also a cool thing in Cubase is Cubase remembers the position of your plugins. So when I close these all at once and I open these again, these are at the exact right spot where I put these before. So this comes in really handy. It's really important for my workflow. Again, for this mix track here, open number 1, 2, 4 and 5 and close all of them at once. And now I'll show you some other shortcuts I made, but this depends on your favorites or whatever you do again and again. I recommend do shortcuts for these ones. And let's say, for example, the drum editor here. Of course I can hit enter and then it opens up here, but most of the time I want it in a separate window, so I made a shortcut for this one. And now I have my MIDI drums in a separate window. And the same for the key editor. And let's say we want to go into the key editor for these tracks here. So we go back, show all tracks, and I can also hit enter and I have it in this window here. But most of the time I want my key editor in a separate window, and I have also a shortcut for this one. And I can go in and edit my MIDI. And another cool thing, especially for drums, when you program drums, here is my drum editor. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go here. And we have the quantize settings here. Let's deactivate the humanize. We have the quantize settings here. Of course, I can go in and select these different settings here, but I have made some shortcuts on my numbers block on my keyboard. And when you watch this setting here, I can switch between quarter notes, 8 notes, 16 notes, whole notes, half notes, 64 and 42. And I can switch between very fast, which is really handy. You can stay in this window, you can do your stuff, and you can switch between the notes very quickly. And the same for the quantize setting itself. So let's say we are in 16 notes here, or let's say 32, and we select the notes, and when I hit Q, you see these are quantized, and then I can go in and let's randomize these a little bit, or WAV, it's called WAV quantize, let's say 10 ticks, and then I hit Q and I can randomize these a little bit. So let's deactivate this back. And this comes in very handy, so you can switch between the different quantize settings here. And another thing is my marker track here. So I have made some shortcuts so I can switch between my markers here. Here's number 1, 2, here's 4, 5. And of course, when I am in the project window, I can click in or double click. But let's say you are in the mixer, in the bigger one, or let's say the smaller one, you don't see the markers, and I can switch between the sections of the song with my shortcuts. This is really cool when you have opened the mixer, or let's say you have a plugin open and you do some stuff and you want to cycle through the different sections. And for the mixer windows, I have one shortcut on my Kensington trackball. So I can open up my Mix Console 1. These are all my group and effect tracks. And I have another shortcut on my trackball. I can open up the main mixer here, or this is the Mix Console 2. And I've also made shortcuts for these ones on the keyboard, which is here. This is Mix Console 3 and this is Mix Console 4. And as we are in the mixer, another very important setting is the Q-Link function here. And let's say we want to change the faders of these guitars. We can select these and we want to move these at once. We can select the Q-Link. But I also made a shortcut for this one. In my case, it's Alt and Q. And as you can see here, when I hit my shortcut, I can activate and deactivate the Q-Link function here. So let's activate it. And now I can move the faders all at once. Or I can say I want an EQ, let's say the Fab Filter one, on all the channels. And there you go. Now these are at every channel. And let's say we want to change the routing. Let's say we want to go just to the mix bus, and now all these channels are routed. And another cool thing, or another very important thing, is the resolution of the fader. Let's say you are something right here, and what I almost always do is I hold the shift button, and then you can move the fader very slowly. This is a really nice feature. Of course, when all your faders are up there is something wrong with your gain staging, but that's a whole another topic. But this is really good to know when you want to move your faders really slow and really fine. Just hold the shift button and you can move these with a really fine tuning. It's the same for the EQ, for example. You can hold shift and then you can really fine tune these settings here. And this is it for today's video, and let me know in the comments if you have other key commands which are your favorites. Please let me know, I always want to learn something new. And yeah, I hope you will find these tips helpful, and let me know, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and see you on the next one. Bye.